So let me share the screen, please. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, no, yes. Okay. So good morning, everyone. So my name is Chatran Vijayan. So at the moment, I'm working in innovations as a QA manager and project manager as well. So I think you guys got an understanding on the what is the basic of software QA and how we do test case writing, test case design, and things like that. But in this session, I will cover the quality engineering work related part, the basic concepts, how we do estimations and things like that, and also on the second half, I will be focusing on the agile method, which most of the IT firms and other companies are also using. So you can get some understanding of the agile process as well. So these are the main key areas that we will be discussing under the quality management aspect, the quality planning, quality assurance, and quality control. So each of the sections, there will be separate slides, and I will explain you what we are going to cover. So under the quality planning, first we come to the, before we start testing or we start a project, we need some kind of a test plan. Anyway, when we are starting a project, we need some kind of project plan or something like that, right? Similarly, we need a test plan to carry out our testing, right? Because the test plan guides it acts as a rule book, it acts as a guideline for our whole testing process. It shows what we should be doing, what are the things that we should focus on, how is the resources are allocated, what kind of responsibilities are given to each and every resources, what are our timelines, what are the tools that we are using, like that. Every aspect of our testing activity will be covered under the test plan. So it helps the people outside the test team to get an understanding of the what kind of testing that we are doing and how we are performing this testing asset, because not everyone can understand this test process in a technical manner. But this, when someone go through this document, they can get an understanding. Okay, these are the things that these guys are going to do. These are the responsibilities that is given to each and everyone. This is the entry criteria, etc. All those details will be available in this test plan. And also aspects like estimation, test scope, the strategy will be documented in there, and also it will be reviewed by the management team and it can be reused for other projects as well. So when we start a new project, normally what we do is we will take a past test plan and we will modify it according to our new project. That will be the easier method. Rather than creating a test plan from the scratch, that will be easy. So whatever the document that we are creating at the moment, we can uh, use it in the next projects as well, right? And this test plan is not a static document. It will get changed based on the different obstacles that we come across, different changes that we come across during the our testing phase. As an example, if we take the COVID situation like in 2020, so we didn't expect any. If we start the project around month of January, let's say the project was supposed to go until uh, mid May or something like that. So we didn't consider any downtime or issues due to the COVID situation, right? Because we didn't anticipate such thing. But when it comes to around March, we got to know that okay, there is a thing like this COVID, and the whole world is going to shut down and things like that. We got to know, right? In that situation, we have to adapt our test plan. We have to change our project plan and as well as the test plan, right? The initially the team members were not given any specific. They were not able to work from home, but we have to find out a way where the team can work from home. So we have to change our testing strategy. We have to provide the relevant facilities to carry out the testing. We have to share the relevant access and everything to the people to work from home, right? So in such situation, this test plan gets changed. Our strategy gets changed. So this is not a static document. This will be a live document which we have to change as the project evolves, right? So we will adapt our plan and we will have to share these changes to the relevant stakeholders and get their approval or understanding as well. So but another thing, if you have any question, please put it in the chat. In the full chat, it will be easy for everyone to get an understanding of it, or you can raise a hand and ask it. Okay. So the second point is the purpose and content of a test plan. So these are the high level details of a test plan, test policy and the strategy of the organization. So when we are doing testing, we are not going to go out of our organization's test strategy, right? Let's say that test strategy of our organization is we are going to do 80% automation and 20% manual in any project that we are going to take, right? So if we come across a new testing project, we are not going to deviate from that specific organization strategy. We can do that, but we should be getting some kind of approval or something like that. So when we are getting a new test project, we will be sticking into that 80% automation and 20% manual rule as well. So according to our according to our organization's rules, right? So those things will be specified here. Development life cycle methods that is used, whether it's sequential, whether it's waterfall, agile, whatever the methods that we are using, we can specify what is the scope of our testing, what we are going to test, what we are not going to test. This is very important because this is the place which shows, okay, these are the things that we are going to test and these things are we are not going to test in this application. Let's say we take some kind of a web application. In there, we are going to test, we will do functional testing, we will do security testing. But other than that, we will not do any, non-functional testing like performance testing. Those things are not in our scope. That should be clearly mentioned before we start the testing, right? Those details has to be there, right? Because when we deliver the project, if the client comes and say this website is taking so much time to load and things like that, we should be able to pinpoint, okay, this was not in our scope. These are the things that we tested, so this is not in our scope. So we are not responsible for that part, right? So our scope should be specifically mentioned. What is our objective? What we are going to test? What we are going to achieve from this testing, right? What are the risks? I think risk you guys already discussed during the previous session, so I'm not going to discuss much on that. And what are the constraints that will come across? What is the criticality and testability of this application, availability of resources like that? Because when we start test project, in some cases, our organization might not have the specific resources to start the testing, right? So let's say we are a startup or something like that. When we are supposed to do some kind of testing, we may not have the relevant automation engineers within our company to do the testing. So in that case, we should be hiring someone or we should be training those people. So in those details also, we should be included in this specific test plan as well, right? Okay, we are going to hire this much of people from outside, or we are going to train our people within the organization. This is our training requirement. For training, we need some kind of external resources. Those things we can include, right? Then the test planning activities in a test plan. So when it comes to test planning activities, we need to determine what is the scope, what is the objective and risk of testing, and define the overall approach, right? We will determine we are going to test, what we are not going to test, and we will determine risk, right? Previously, I think discussed already. Risk means we will determine these are the risks that is available in this application, and based on that risk, we are going to do these kind of testing, right? Based on that, we can have an approach. So we are going to test if we take the previous browser-based testing cycle. So we can decide, okay, there's a risk of user accessing this application using multiple browsers. So we are going to do cross-browser testing. Like that, we have an approach for that, right? Those kind of details we need to include in our test plan. Making decision about what to test and people and the resources required to perform various activities and how those things will be carried out. We already discussed in the previous one as well. Scheduling of test analysis, design, implementation, execution, and everything. So we have to give a proper schedule in the project plan. Also, we have a a schedule diagram where we show these things will be done in these timelines, right? Similarly, we have a schedule in test plan as well. This activity will be done during this period. The next phase will be this period. This have a dependency on the previous activity, like that we have a schedule as well. What is the matrices for test monitoring and control? We will discuss what is monitoring and control later, but what are the matrices that we are going to test, right? We can't just go ahead and do testing without analyzing properly whether we are going to doing the testing correctly, right? I mean, we have to monitor and control our testing approach. If there is no guideline or anything, people can do whatever that they need, that they like, right? So we have to have some kind of a guideline. Okay, these are the matrices and we have to stick on to these matrices. When we complete our testing, there should not be any severity one bugs. That might be our one guideline, right? And if we write these number of test cases, we have to automate this much of out of these test cases, right? If we have 100 test cases, we should be automating around 70 test cases. That can be another matrix. Like that, there are different kind of matrices that you can use, right? Budgeting for the test activities and what are the tools. So if you are going automation, what are the tools that you are going to use? Are we doing Selenium? Are we using Cypress or anything else, Playwright or whatever tool that you are going to? Or it can be something totally different, some proprietary testing tool, right? So there are different tools by different organizations. It can be those kind of things, right? Or for test management, what you are going to use? Are we using Excel? Are we using Jira? Are we using email? Like that, different kind of tools that we are using, right? Those kind of things we need to include. Any questions on the previous one? Okay. Next, we'll come to test planning and estimation. So once we perform the planning part, we have to do test estimation because this will be the most important aspect of our testing, right? So how we are going to test? There are different kind of methods that we can use. One of the thing is matrix-based testing techniques. So estimating the effort based on matrices of former or similar projects, right? So we have some details on the previous project where we did something similar. So we can use that attribute and we can determine this much of effort will be required for this, right? We have done a web-based application testing previously, right? Now we come across a new testing activity for a new web application and we see, okay, for this one we have taken this much of time. This application seems to be a little bit more complex than that. So we can use some kind of a multiplier, right? For this one, for the previous one, if we take X amount of time, we may need around 1.25% X of for the new project. Like that, we can use the past matrices, right? We can use the burn down chart. Burn down chart, I will show you guys on the later stages when we come to Agile. So in burn down chart, what we basically show is how much effort we have estimated and how much has been completed during our testing phases, right? Those kind of things we can use. Defect removal models, how many defects has been removed and what kind of timeline has been taken for that. Those kind of estimation we can use. And then we come to the expert-based techniques. There are two things we have specified here: planning poker and wideband Delphi. Planning poker we are going to discuss. I will show you a video how we do the planning poker. This is mainly used in agile ceremonies, planning poker. And wideband Delphi, it's a group of experts provide estimate based on the experience. So let's say I have been working on some kind of a specific domain for a certain period of time. And when a new project comes within that specific domain, I know this much of time will be taken for this specific project. Why? Because I'm sort of an expert in this domain. Okay. Okay, so one question has been asked as any tool you can recommend to be worthy of learning future proof, since there are a lot of tools. So in IT, there is no tools considered as future proof, right? People learn Selenium, but then came Cypress. Then people learn trying to learn Cypress, then came Playwright. Now people are learning Playwright. There will be a new tool coming on a couple of years as well. We don't know. Okay, but what I would suggest is understand what is the basic concept of testing, right? Rather than learning a tool, you should be knowing what to test and how to test, right? If you know what you should be testing and how we are going to test, you can adapt into any tool that you like. Okay, Selenium is the most used tool in majority of the project, so learning that is totally fine. You can self-learn, those things are fine. But most of the time what happens is, even though you learn something, if you are not applying it in your real projects and you are not working with that tool in your real life, you may lose the memory of that, and when you come across a new project, uh, you might have to relearn it again, right? I'm always saying learning a tool is not that difficult. Learn the basic concept of testing, then you can apply it anywhere. Doesn't matter what is the tool is. But if you really want, you can go ahead and learn Selenium, and also Playwright as well. I think Playwright is the most hyped one at the moment when it comes to automation space. So you can go across those kind of things. Uh, so as I said previously, so wideband Delphi is based on the experience. So someone has the expertise on some specific domain or area. So he can say, okay, for this project, this much time is needed, and you can go ahead with that estimate. But it can, it might be wrong, might go correct as well. There is risk always. Estimation, there is risk anyways, because we can't anticipate some of the things that we come across. So the next one is factors influencing test effort. So these are some of the things that will determine how much effort will be taken for our testing. One is the product characteristic. What are the risks associated with product? Okay. If it's a basic web-based application, there is less risk of something going. I mean, if something goes wrong, there is less risk, right? I mean, it's not life-threatening or something like that. But if we come across something like a medical equipment testing or something like that, there is a high risk because people's life depends on it, right? So that is a product characteristic, and based on that risk, we have to determine how much testing that we are going to use and how thoroughly we are going to test as well. The size of the project or the product. So whether it's a small scale one or large scale one, depending on that, we have to determine what is the scale that we are going to test. What is the complexity? So this web-based type of thing might not be that much complex. There are complex web-based things, but it might not be such complex one, right? But if it's something like a stock exchange or a banking system, it's really complex. There are many things to be considered. We are working with people's money, so we have to consider those kind of things. What is the quality characteristic that is needed? Security and reliability. Some kind of web-based e-commerce system going down is not that critical to uh, our day-to-day life, right? If eBay goes down, okay, we can survive without it. But if some kind of a critical equipment that is used to keep the patients alive goes down, it can't happen. So there should be thoroughly that should be done. What is the security of that? When we are using when you are using a e-commerce site, there should be proper security methods tested, because we are using our credit card details within that e-commerce site, right? So those kind of things should be tested, and they should be secured as much as possible, right? Because of the all these scams that is going on, security has been so important at the moment. What kind of documentation needed? Previous, in waterfall method and everything, there were many documentation that was required, but when it comes to agile, documentation part is little bit lower now. It will be easy, so we can focus on the testing activity rather than documenting. Previously it was like, okay, everything we have to document, every single point we have to document, but now it's little bit lower than before, so it is easier. Requirement for legal and regulatory compliance. Even though I said previously documentation is less needed, but if the regulatory compliance is needed, then we have to document those kind of things. When it comes to banks and financial system mainly, we have to document everything, and we have to send it to relevant authorities for the regulations, right? Because it's strictly controlled by the governments and the relevant regulators, right? Then the development process characteristics. How stable or mature the organization. If it's a startup, the amount of testing that is needed might be higher than if it's a very well versed, very experienced company, right? If it's a very experienced company, something's going wrong might be little less. I mean, I'm not saying it won't go wrong, but it's little bit lesser than a startup, right? So based on that, we can determine how much testing we should be doing. What is the developed model we use, whether it's waterfall, agile. Based on that, we can determine what is our test approach, the tools that we are going to use. If we are doing manual, we have to have a lot of time. If it's a 6 months manual project, with automation we might be able to do it within a 3 months or 4 months time period. But if you're not using automation, we have to have 6 months time period to test this. So based on the tool or the technique that we are using, this estimate might get changed. What is the test process and the time pressure? In some cases, project is given, they ask us to do it within this time period. Rather than we giving the estimation, they tell us, okay, this is the time period that we need this to be completed. So based on that, we have to prioritize, we have to identify the critical areas, and we have to test. We have to determine how much resources we need to complete this task within the specific timelines, and we have to plan and estimate. And people characteristics, skill and experience of the people involved. So whenever we start a testing activity, if it's a very senior person, the time taken for that specific person to write a test case or execute a test case might be lower than for a very junior team member, right? Someone with a low domain knowledge, they may take more time than a senior team member, right? Based on that, we have to determine our estimation. Team cohesion and leadership. If the team is not properly bonded, if they are taking so much time, if someone is afraid to talk to the leadership, and the leadership is not also, working properly with the junior team members, then there is some uh, delays can happen. And also there are some situations where we have to get approvals from each and every senior team member, right? In that situation, we have to consider that one and increase our estimation, right? Those kind of things are there. Then the test results, how much of severe defects are found during our testing. That's a one important thing. If it's we are having large number of high severity defects or any severe defects, it means that the product has been developed in I mean, the development is not proper, right? There is quality issues. So based on that, we may have to increase our estimation. As I said, the test plan is a live document, so we can obviously increase it, but we have to get the relevant approvals and everything. But if we are finding more defects, then we have to do some more testing as well, and the amount of rework required. If we are having more and more defects, we have to retest those things, we have to run the regression and everything. So for those kind of things, we need more time. Okay, so those are the things when we come to the test effort estimation. Any questions on that? Then we'll come to test schedule. So we have an estimation now. Now we have to do the scheduling. So I have an example here. We have 4 different test suites, right? We have to determine what test suite we are going to start testing. Just because it says A, B, C, D, we are not going to start from A, B, from A, we complete A, then we are going to move to B, we are going to move to C, we are going to move to D. That's not how it happens. We have to give priority and priority to every single specific area. Test suite A priority is critical. There's a due date as 19th, right? Test suite C's priority is low. Test suite D priority is high. Test suite B priority is medium. So based on this, we are going to test the high critical ones first, and we are going to set the due dates as well. Test suite A, the highest critical one, we should be testing first. The second one will be test suite D, which is priority high. Next one is medium. Next one is low, right? Based on the priority, we have to determine this prioritization. It can be based on the experience that we have or the complexity that we see, and based on that we can prioritize this thing. Why we prioritize this thing is, in some cases, let's say we have a 6 months project, we are testing it now. When we come to the last 2 months or something like that, we understand, okay, it's not possible for us to complete within this time period. but the client anyway requests us to provide us with the completion, right? In that situation, what we can do is we can prioritize these things, and we can conclude that at the end of the 6 month period, we have tested the most critical high priority testing by 6 months. We may have to omit the low priority one, but that is fine. Why? Because it doesn't contain any high critical part of the system. We can test it in a later stage after the release also. It doesn't affect the go live, right? But these critical high and medium things, it directly affect the go live, so that has to be tested within this specific time period anyway. The low ones we can skip with the agreement of every stakeholder, right? So this prioritization has to be done. It will be useful in your future as well. So this is a high level diagram showing that these things, this is the order that we are going to test. So that's an important aspect when we are doing the estimation and scheduling. Next, we come to the quality assurance part. So we determine what we are going to test, how we are going to test, all those things. Now we come to the quality assurance part, right? First, the test organization. So when it comes to testing, there are different levels of testing. So one thing we can talk about the independent testing. So first, there are companies, there is no independent, right? So the developers themselves do the testing, or they test their own code within the development team or some others code as well. There is no independent, there are no specific QA engineers within that team. Only the developers test themselves, right? So it's like I'm building something and I'm testing it by myself. So I am biased to my prepared software. So I may miss some issues that I have included in this specific software, right? Because I'm not thinking out of the box. I'm not having a fresh mindset on this software because I have been seeing this one, and I may not see some errors that some others might see, right? So it's like I'm coding myself and I'm doing the testing myself as well. In some cases, like if it's a small scale company, this is the mostly commonly used thing. They don't do much of testing. They will do the developer testing and provide to the user, right? There's no independence, right? There are no specific testers assigned to testing. Then independent developers or testers within the development teams or project team. This could be developers testing their colleagues' product. So I'm testing someone else's product. Someone else has coded this one, and I'm testing this one. So in that aspect, there is some independence. I'm testing someone else's one, so I am having a fresh mindset on that. I know if I come across some kind of error, I know okay, this is an error, right? Because I'm looking at something else other than that I built, right? Then we come to the independent test team or group within the organization report to project management, executive management. So this is where the QA testers role really comes on. There is a specific QA testers who are not developing or anything. They are only focusing on quality assurance part, right? They will write the test cases. They don't care about who this code has been written by. It doesn't matter to them, and they will do the testing independently. But the only thing is these people are in the same organization, right? Still the management can say okay, there are some defects, but still it's our organization, we have to release this software somehow, so just ignore this one, right? That can happen. There can be biases because this is something done within the organization. Then come to the independent testers from the business organizations or user community or with specialization in specific test type. This is where some freelancers or the business users come and do the testing, right? So they don't care about who the development has been done, but they are very independent and they will test across the application and raise the bugs, right? Because they are the end users, in some cases, end users who are using this product. So these issues need to be rectified, so they will raise. Then the last one is independent testers external to the organization, either working on site or off site. So this is the outsourcing part. So there are companies where they provide services as quality assurance perspective. So they are doing quality assurance for other companies, right? So the company A gives a contract to company B, who's providing the quality assurance service, and company B will come to the company A's place or work separately and test out this application, right? So they are technical testers. In the previous one, yes, it's independent, but it's mostly about the business users who are testing. They don't have much technical knowledge, but they know when a issue comes, right? If something goes wrong in the website, they know. But the technical testers, they can do some little bit more understanding on that. They can get the logs and everything, and they can provide some better outcome when it comes to independent technical testers. So those are the level of independence that is available in testing activities. So we should be focusing on going to the independent testing as much as possible, because it will uncover hidden issues within our software which are not identified by our developers or the internal test team. The external test team can identify those things with a fresh mindset. So with this independent testing, there are two parts. There are benefits and drawbacks as well. So benefits wise, likely to recognize different kind of failures. So obviously it's a fresh set of eyes, and they can determine different kind of issues or failures available in the system. They can verify, challenge, or disprove assumption made by stakeholders. Okay, they are not bound by some management within the organization who develop the software. They can raise, okay, this is a defect. They can raise without any fear. There's a defect which should be fixed, right? They can challenge that, because that's what they have been recruited for, to be to challenge the development team, to challenge the management, right? Independent testers of a vendors can report in an upright and objective manner about the system under test. So they can, it doesn't matter who the developer is, there is no relationship with those people. It doesn't mean, I mean, I don't care whether the developer is my friend or not. I'm an independent tester. I'm giving this feedback, right? So very freely I can provide my feedback. And also there are drawbacks. Isolation from the development team. So since this is a separate entity, separate people coming into the organization, there can be isolations between the teams. There can be, conflicts between the teams as well. Stakeholders might see the test team as a bottleneck or source of delay, because if the independent testing team is always saying there are bugs, there are bugs, there are bugs all the time, then they might see, okay, this is really time wasting. These guys are always saying there are bugs, it's not ending. They can see it like that, right? And determine, okay, this is enough, right? That can happen. So that drawback is there. Developers may lose sense of responsibility for quality. The other part thing can also happen. So they are thinking, oh, someone else is testing, so why do I care? I will just develop this one. I'm not going to do any quality assurance or any developer testing or anything, because there is a specific person who is assigned to that, right? So if something goes wrong, it's their responsibility. They have not found it. It's not my responsibility. So that kind of a sense can come to the developers. Independent testers may lack some important information. So when it comes to an outside party, most of the companies will not provide their internal source code or internal application access to the outside party, right? So that outside party may lose some, in-depth knowledge of the application. That can happen, right? So that kind of a drawback is there. So those are the main benefits and drawbacks when it comes to independent testing. Then we come to the who are the main roles in the when it comes to quality assurance. There are two set of roles that is high level defined: test manager and a tester. But there are some other roles when it comes to agile, which I will be discussing later. The first person is the test manager. He is the responsible person for project management and testing activities, resources, and evaluation of test objects. So he is some kind of an experienced tester. Maybe it depends on the specific organization or the project. It can be a person with 5+ years of experience or 20+ experience depending on the scale of the project as well, right? There can be multiple test managers within a single project. If it's something like 100 people, then there can be multiple test managers because a single person can't manage everyone, right? So he's the key person whose responsibility for the overall project. Something similar to a project manager, test manager is there. Then there's a tester who is he's just a person who performs the testing and also leader. So as I said, when it comes to around 100 people, there can be one test manager and there's a 2 or 3 test leaders under him, and there are a set of testers assigned to that specific test lead, right? On large scale, a large project, person who reports to the test manager and is responsible for project management of a particular test level. Like if there are multiple testing types that is happening, if there are performance testing happening, automation is happening, regression is happening, and functional testing is happening. So every area might have a specific test lead. There is automation lead, function lead, non-function lead, like that. There can be multiple lead who is reporting to the test manager, and under this each lead there will be multiple testers, right? So those are the main several roles that is available in a test team. So these are the high level testing tasks for each tester and test manager. So typical test manager tasks: high-level document maintenance, estimation, planning and adapting, introducing matrices, making decisions, supporting testing, coordinate, monitoring and test control. Like when you go through this one, you can understand. So he is a high-level manager who's supporting the testing activities of the whole project. So that is the goal of a manager. It's mainly like a project manager. There's a test manager, right? Budgeting and everything. And when it comes to tester, he has to review and contribute test plan from the tester's perspective, analyze and review the requirements or user stories or specification, identify test documentation. So this is the all the other things that needs to be done during the testing phase. They have to write the test cases, execute them, raise the bugs, send the status on a daily basis, like those things a typical tester has to do. So you don't have to memorize these things, but you can have a just high level understanding what does happen, right? So it's like there are when it comes to bank, there are different sections, right? There's a bank manager, there are senior team members, there are tellers or people who are working on the counters, like that. There are several categories. Similarly, there are several categories in testing as well. So these are the typical activities of a test manager and a tester. Any questions from the up to now? Anything that you need to ask? Any questions? You can put it in chat. I hope I'm clear with the current up to now. So we'll go to the next one. What is an entry and exit criteria? So when it comes to testing, we need to determine when we are going to start testing and when we are going to end testing. Without these things, we can do testing indefinitely, right? We can test, and up to any extent we can test. But we have to have a specific 2 parameters. What is the entry criteria? What is the exit criteria? When we are going to test, when we are going to end the test, right? When it comes to entry criteria, the mainly availability of testable requirements, user stories, models, and everything, right? We should be having that relevant test requirement to start the testing. Without that, we are not going to start. Availability of test items that have met exit criteria for any prior test levels. Like when it comes to regression, if we don't have the functional testing completion or the functional testing sign off, we are not going to start the regression testing. Why? Because the previous testing activity has not been started. There's a dependency for the previous stage, right? So that has to be there to start the new testing. Availability of test environment. If there is no specific test environment available for us, we can't go ahead and do the testing. Availability of necessary test tool and test data and other necessary resources. So once all these things are available, we will be starting the testing. So everything that we need to start the testing or the entry criteria should be specified in the test plan. Based on this, when this specific criteria has been met, then only we will start our testing. So that is the entry criteria. Then exit criteria. When we are going to stop the testing, when those things also should be specified in the test plan. So what we have mentioned here is plan test have been executed. I mean, it doesn't have to be all the planned test cases. If we agree like by this timeline, 90% of the planned tests are executed. If all the stakeholders agree to that, that is fine. It doesn't have to be 100%. If it's 100% good, if it's 90%, everyone agrees, then that's also fine. Okay. Defined level of coverage. Defined level of coverage has been achieved. So whether we have achieved 70% of coverage or 80% of coverage or 50% of coverage, that value has to be determined beforehand. And once we achieve this coverage, then we can stop the testing. That's another parameter. Number of unresolved defects is within the agreed limit. There can be an agreement like, okay, we can have less than 20 defects, and we cannot have any severity 1 defects. We can have severity 2, 3, and 4 defects. I mean, medium to low severe defects we can have, but high severity or critical defects we can't have. That may be our agreement, right? So when we think, when we seems to be stop, when we are going to stop the testing, we have to see whether we have achieved that goal as well, whether there are no any S1, S2 defects, whether there are no any high or critical defects in the system. If there is not, then we have achieved that. We have achieved that target. So then we can stop the testing as well. Number of estimated remaining defects is sufficiently low. That is another parameter we can use. Evaluated levels of reliability, performance efficiency, usability, security, and other relevant parameters are met, right? So all these things we can specify. Like when it comes to performance testing, we can say if the system is achieving around 100 transactions per second, if we have tested that system can achieve that target, then we can stop the testing. Until the system has not achieved that, we have to do the testing and identify the bottleneck, right? So like those kind of parameters we have to specify, and based on these parameters, when everything is fulfilled, we can determine, okay, now the testing is enough, we can stop the testing. Or when we are going to, if we have a specific timeline that is already planned, by the end of that timeline, we have to determine whether we have achieved this target or not. If we have not achieved this target, then we have to deal with the relevant stakeholders and say that, okay, we have not achieved this exit criteria. We may have to do further testing, so we may need some more time, right? That part needs to be done. So that is the entry criteria and exit criteria. So after that, we come to the test monitoring and control part. So when we are doing testing, we have to monitor and control. In any project or anything, we have to monitor whether the relevant specific activities are going according to our plan, according to our guidelines, according to the strategies as well, right? So that is what we are doing in monitoring and control. So this is just an example that I have given here. So monitoring means, so when it comes to a airline system, we can monitor how the planes are flying, right? But there has to be someone who's monitoring this activity and someone who's going to control this activity. The air traffic controller will monitor this specific this airplane, and they will control their altitude and the way they are going to the timing of the landing and everything. That will be controlled by the air traffic controller, right? Similarly, in testing also, we have to monitor and control everything, right? So for this monitoring and controlling, we can use the matrices. Okay, different kind of matrices that we can use. So some of the common things are percentage of planned work done in test case preparation, or percentage of planned test cases implemented. So if we see that percentage is not sufficient in the test case preparation, then we have to analyze why such low number is there. We may have to increase the resource count, or ask the team to hurry up and do the test case preparation as quickly as possible, right? So we monitor and we control. And percentage of plan work done in test environment preparation, something similar. Test case execution, how much has been executed, how much has not been executed, how much has been pass, fail, or conditional pass, fail, or blocked. We can determine. We have matrices of those things. Based on that, we can take decision. This much has not been executed, so we have to increase our execution efficiency. We have to increase our team members who do the execution. They may have to do some little bit extra work, or there is some problem, so we have to resolve that problem and get this work done, right? Those kind of things we have to determine. Defect information, defect density, how much defect has been found within a specific number of lines of code. If the defect density is high, which means the quality of the software is low, right? We find so many defects within a small number of line of codes, which means the developer has not done proper job, right? So based on that, we can do some additional testing. We can ask the developers to do the reworks and reads and everything. And the other matrices will be defects found and fixed, failure rate, confirmation test results, those kind of things we can use to monitor and control. Is coverage of requirements, user stories, acceptance criteria, risk for code, right? How much we have achieved the test coverage, whether we have achieved 50%, like when we come to the middle of the project, if we have achieved around 60% of coverage, then we are in a good shape, right? But if we are in something like in a 30%, then we have to do something to rectify this one, right? Task completion, resource allocation, and usage and effort. That's straightforward. Cost of testing. So including the cost compared to the benefit of finding the next defect, or cost compared to the benefit of running the next test. So if we find like, okay, we are spending so much amount of money, but we are finding 1 or 2 defects, which either means the testers are not good at finding the defect, or the software has been developed in a proper manner where there are less number of bugs. That is the 2 things that can happen, right? So based on that, we can determine, we can analyze further and take necessary actions. If we see that the testers are not good, then we have to get some more experience or better testers. If we see like, okay, this has been developed properly, we are finding less number of bugs uh, against the amount of money that we are spending, then we can determine, okay, it seems a little bit okay for us to scale down our testing, and we can release the software a little bit earlier to reduce the cost or something. Because at the end of the day, this is a business. We are trying to get some kind of profit and everything. So based on that, depending on the cost, we can take different actions, right? So these are some of the methods or graphs that we are using to track our matrices. So as you can see on this part, we can see the status of releases. We have total number of test cases, how much has been executed, what is passed, what is failed, what is blocked, like that we have details, right? Based on this, we can see 742, around 23% has been failed. So we have to take some actions. We have to control this one. We have to ask the relevant development team to fix these bugs and analyze the code and do the code review and everything, finish these things, right? We have to try to get this amount of failures to a low number as much as possible, right? The second one is also something similar. Then we have another diagram where we show how many issues has been raised and what is the criticality of each issue, whether what is the state of the issue, whether it's under investigation, whether it's confirmed as an issue, whether it's resolved and closed. All those statistics are available here. This is a Jira dashboard I'm showing in this one. So these things we can use to monitor and control. These two are something like a Gantt charts or burn down charts that we can use. This is something like this much of work should be done during this specific time period, but this is the green line is what we have achieved during this time period. So there is a variance, and it seems like the variance is getting higher and higher every day. So we have to do something to get this fixed. We have to reduce this variance as quickly as possible, right? So those are the things that we can, there are many graphs, tools that we can use for these things and utilize those things and get some kind of an understanding on it. Then when it comes to monitoring and controlling, there are two types of reports that we use. One is a test progress report, one is a test summary report. When it comes to test progress report, it shows the status of test activities, progress against the test plan, factors that is blocking the progress, what is impeding the progress, testing plan for the next reporting period. So what we are going to test next, and the quality of the test object. So this test progress report is something that we share on a daily basis with the client or the relevant stakeholders, right? Some test lead will get the details from the each and every testers, or testers can specify their progress in Excel sheet or some kind of a tool like Jira, and the test lead will extract, test lead or the test manager will extract those kind of things and share this test progress report. So on a daily basis, we have an understanding. Okay, yesterday it was, we have completed around 70% of testing. Now we are in 72. By the next 2 weeks, we have to complete it. Whether we can complete or not, also we can determine using this test progress report, right? The next one is test summary report, which we are going to send once we complete the testing, right? In the summary, we says, okay, what kind of things that we have done, what is the testing we perform, what are the what are the things that occurred during our testing period, what are the bugs, what are the blocks, what are the issues that we faced, what is the deviation from the plan. So initially we agreed to a specific exit criteria, but due to some specific reason we were not able to achieve this exit criteria, so we got a new exit criteria. So there is a deviation, and that deviation we can specify there. Status of testing and product quality, whether we can recommend the software as a fully tested and high quality software or not. That kind of a summary we can specify. Blocking factors, what were the things that were blocking our execution. So these details can be used in the future projects, and we can reduce the amount of blocks, right? If just submitting some kind of summary report is not sufficient, we should be taking ideas or learnings from those summary reports and use it in the next projects as well. What were the matrices of defects, test coverage, and resource consumption, etc. All the things that we have done, what are the test coverage we achieved, what how many defects that we have raised, how much S1 defects are we have resolved, how much defects we retested, like that. These much of defects are open. All those details can be mentioned in summary report. And residual risk, even after doing the testing, there are some risks remaining. So those kind of, like, let's say we are only doing the functional testings, but we can say there is a risk of not doing performance testing in this application. There are delays in this application, and proper performance testing should be done. Those kind of recommendations we can specify in the test summary report as well. And reusable test work product produced. So if we create some kind of automation suite for this specific test, specific software, we can say, okay, we can reuse this one in when you guys are building another feature for this application. We can reuse this part that we created in this stage, right? Those kind of details we can include. Then we come to the last part of it, which is the quality control. So under quality control, we have two things: verification and validation. Under verification, what we are doing is we check whether are we building the product right. සිංහලෙන් කිව්වොත් අපි මේ අපි හදන software එක හරි විදිහටද අපි කරන්නේ. Validation, are we building the right product? අපි හරි software එකද හදන්නේ. අපි මේ software එක හදන්නේ හරි විදිහටද? අපි හරි software එකද හදන්නේ. හරි, ඕක දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඕක පොඩක් confusing වෙන්න පුළුවන්, but verification and validation is important when it comes to our quality control, right? Verification, it's a process of checking that software achieves its goal without any bugs. This might not be 100% correct, because there are no softwares without any bugs. There will be bugs in any software that is available, but verification is the process of checking the software achieve its goal without any bugs, or less number of bugs, right? It's a process to ensure whether the product that is developed is right or not. It verifies whether the developed product fulfills the requirements we have. So the activities or this verification is static testing, right? And activities involved in verification is inspection, reviews, walkthroughs, and desk checking. So these are manual activities done by the experts, and those guys do the verification and see whether we are building the product correctly or not, right? Then we come to the validation. Validation means it's a process of checking whether the software product is up to the mark, or in other words, product has high level requirements. It's a process of checking the validation of product. That means checks what we are developing is the right product. Are we have we built the correct product here? Because at the end of the day, if we have built something, let's say we followed all the standards and build the product right, but if the product that we have built is not what the customer expected, that's not useful, right? We have followed all the guidelines, all the relevant certification and everything. We have built the product, but the product that we built is not what the customer expected. There's no use. So that's validation, right? Its validation means actual and expected product are similar or not. So this is dynamic testing. The activities are black box, white box testing, unit testing, integration testing. I believe these things you guys already went through in the previous sessions as well. So I'll go to the next one, risk and testing. I think risk also I saw some explanation done by Kapila also. Risk means a factor that could result in future negative consequences. So based on this only, we will determine what are the testing things that we are going to do. When it comes to risk, there are two types of things: product and project risk. Under the product risk, it determines a software might not perform its intended function according to the specification. System architecture may not adequately support some non-functional requirement. Loop control structure may be coded incorrectly. Response time may be inadequate, or high performance transaction processing system. So these are the things that can go wrong in our product, right? The product that we are building. User experience feedback might not meet the product expectation. So these things can go wrong in our product. Project risk means some things that can affect our overall project, right? There can be project issues that come across. There can be people issues, organizational issues that can come up, political problems can come up, supply issues. Those are outside factors that can impact the overall project, like the COVID situation. That's a project risk, right? That came outside and it's impacting the ultimate completion of the project. But something like the developer, something that the people develop is not functioning or according to our expectation, that's a product risk. That is something going wrong within the product that we are developing. So those are the project risk and product risk. So based on this one, risk-based testing and product quality, we are focusing on. Previously also you guys discussed, based on this risk, we have to determine what kind of testing that we are going to do. And the test, this based on the risk, we will determine test techniques to be used, particular levels of testing to be done, extent of testing, whether any activities in addition of testing could be employed to reduce the risk, and how we can prioritize the testing. Those kind of things we have to determine based on the risk factors that we identify when we start in the project. Okay. Then we come to the defect management. So what's a defect? Can anyone provide an answer on what is a defect? What's the defect of the system? If you can put it in the chat, what's a defect? Yes, chat already here. Any example where we can ignore bug? Right, we'll come to that later. So first of all, what's a bug? Can anyone explain what's a bug? that goes against our expectation. So yeah, that's somewhat correct. So basically, the definition of a bug or a defect is when we do testing, if our expected outcome and the actual outcome doesn't match with each other, then we consider it as a bug. Okay, we are expecting, let's say, a simple login page, right? We are entering our username and then we are entering an incorrect password, right? And we click on the login button. So when we write the test case, we will write it as when we do these actions, we are expecting user should not be able to log into the system. That is our expectation, right? But when we do the testing, right, in real life, we are doing the testing now. When we do the testing, we come across that, okay, but when we do these specific actions, user will be logged into the system, right? So actual outcome and the expected outcome does not match. So that is basically considered as a bug or a defect, right? So these kind of things we have to raise in the system. So the question asked by uh, Gayan is unplanned behavior of software. Yeah, that's also correct. Any example we can ignore a bug? No, we can't ignore a bug. I mean, uh, if as a tester, always if there is a bug, doesn't matter whether it's very low or something. Even if it's low, if it's a spelling mistake, we have to raise that bug. It's later we can determine whether we are going to fix this or not. That's a separate thing. But we can't ignore a bug as a software tester, right? So when we are raising a defect, we have to raise it in a proper manner where everyone can understand. So that we basically call this as a defect reporting. We have to have an ID, we have to have a date, title, summary, what is the priority and severity. I think these things, two things you guys already discussed previously. State of the defect report, expected and actual result, environment configuration, all the details that we can include, we should be including here because let's say you resign from the company, next day you raise a bug, next day you resign from the company. Next person who comes to the company and who's going to uh, analyze this bug should have all the relevant information to recreate this bug, right? What is the browser version you use? What is the OS version? How you recreated the, how you, what are the steps you use? What are the test data? Everything. If there are screenshots, videos, much better. Logs, much better, right? All the details as much as you can, you should be including in a clear manner, right? Just because you have to include, you don't include each and everything. You should be sharing those things in a clear and precise manner. Okay. And can anyone tell what is the bug here? So this is our expectation, right? Can anyone tell me from this part what is the bug here? Yeah, it's a pagination issue. So as you can see here, it says page 6 out of 6, but here it says page 6 of 70. So it's incorrect, right? The PDF tool that people are checking, it shows as 6 out of 6, but in here it shows as 6 out of 70. So we have to report this one, and this is a high level documentation that has been prepared for a bug. So there's a summary. The count of total pages is displayed an incorrect number if user opens file from attachment, right? It should be having a proper title specifying high levelly what is this bug. Why this is important is, let's say two people are testing this application and uh, both of these people come across this one, uh, right? And if we can search, let's say one person has already raised the bug, if the second person before raising the bug, he can search whether this has been already raised or not, right? if there is no proper summary or something like that, then the second person might not be able to identify whether that has been already raised or not. So that person might also raise it. So the same defect has been raised twice now, which is not useful. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of everyone's time. So developers has to analyze it 2 times, and the defect will be rejected saying as a duplicate, right? So it has to be a proper standard or properly clear summary, and then there's a description. There are preconditions. Download the docx file, attach and do not change. Open a browser window. Then what are the steps? Open Gmail window, compose a new email, attach the downloaded file, send the email, open the email, find the file in the section of attachment, click on it to view its content, check the total page counter. So each and everything that you are going to do will be specified under steps. So expected result is total page counter displays as display the actual number of 6. Actual result is total page counter display the incorrect number 70, right? So both of these things are mentioned. So it shows what is the error, and it has a screenshot of that error as well, right? Please note that this issue has been reproduced in other browsers also, Opera, Firefox. So this is done in, this might be done in Chrome. So the tester is saying it can be available in other browsers also. So when the issue is fixed, they have to test in other browsers also. Workaround: manual update the total page count in Word or Google Docs and save the file. So there's a workaround for the moment as well. So this is not something that will hold the future activities, right? So there's a workaround. And environment detail: Windows OS, Google Chrome version, and everything is specified. So anyone who comes to the project can get an understanding, or even the developer can identify, this is the steps that I have to do, this is the configuration that I have to have, and with that configuration they can recreate and see whether it's reproduced theirs as well and provide a fix, right? So this is a high level Jira ticket. We have to learn pretty much everything, but this is a Jira ticket that we raise for this kind of situation. Then after the bug, so we will go through the team management part a little bit quickly as well, because there are some other stuff to work. So when it comes to testing, similarly to the project management, we have to have a team management skills as well. We have to have different kind of skills. We have to have collaboration, presentation, conflict resolution when it comes to managing the testing teams, right? We can have technical knowledge up to some extent, but human resources do the majority of the work. So we have to manage them in a proper way, right? So we have to achieve the targets. We have to communicate properly and cooperate effectively. Without those kind of things, we may not be able to achieve our end goals when it comes to any kind of project, right? So these are some of the things that you need to have to successfully manage any kind of project. Effective communication, building relationship, influencing people, motivate the people, handling ethical issues and everything. So these are high level things. So there's a small exercise that you can do. You can take a screenshot of this one. We will share the relevant answers later, but go through these case studies. There are different situations where what we come across during our testing or testing life cycle. Try to identify how you can resolve these issues with your experience, right? We will provide different kind of answers to this each and every use cases. Okay, you guys can take a screenshot of this, or when we share the presentation, you guys can go through this. Right, and this is an exercise that you can do where you can create your own test plan. You can scan this QR code and go through there and try to identify a scenario and try to create a test plan. There are, in online also you can find the different kind of test plans. Use those things, take the guidance and try to create a test plan as well. Then we come to the agile part. So this is something that we will be discussing in the next around 45 minutes. So agile, before agile, I will discuss what is the current previous method that has been used. I think pretty much everyone knows. Previously, we used waterfall development, where there are several set of stages, around 7 stages. Uh, we have to wait until one stage is completed to start the next stage, right? So we will do the requirement gathering, we will do the analysis, design, testing, like that. There are different set of stages. Nothing was doing parallelly. Once a specific stage is completed only, then the next stage will start. Once we do the analysis, then we will start the designing, right? Until we complete the designing, we are not going to start the testing, right? So this is the basic of waterfall model, right? So it has a natural timeline where tasks are executed in a sequential fashion. So it's easy to manage and the process is well documented. That's a plus. But what is negative is it's hard to get feedback fast up the waterfall. Test activities only occur after all the development activities has been completed. High cost of defect. Why we saying something like that is testing happen at the end last stage, right? Most of the time, all the other developers has done the development and they might be working in new projects also some cases, right? So once we do the testing, if we come across some kind of a critical defect, we have to go back to the first stage again, and we have to do all these 7 stages again, right? So the cost is really high. I mean, defect fixing cost and everything is really high in waterfall development. And also the testing team doesn't have much work until the last part of the project. If it's a 6-month project, until the last 2 or 3 months, they might not have much thing to do, right? So it's wasting efforts as well. So it's a linear sequential flow where you complete one phase before moving to the next one. Rarely aim to revisit a phase once it's completed. So it's like better to do it first, right first time. So what they anticipate is we are going to do it right first time and then complete it. That's it. But that doesn't work most of the time, right? So we can't 100% guarantee that we have done it correctly at the first time. So we implement it and then do the verification. So also we may not see a value until end of the project, right? Let's say this is a large scale project, like taking 2 or 3 years, right? We have started in 2020, but we are going to end it by 2023. Things that was relevant during 2020 might not be relevant on 2023. The technology has evolved, people has evolved, their requirements has changed, right? So at the end of the day, the product that we are releasing by 2023 is not relevant to the market and it's a failure. That can happen with waterfall model because we have to wait a long time to get a completed product. Stakeholders will not see the application until the end of the project. Requirement changes are not welcome. If something is fixed, that is it. We are not going to change it. That's how it happened in waterfall. No testing until the end of the development, right? If we find a critical defect, we have to go back for the first part and we have to come across again, right? So issues with waterfall is QA don't get live system carry out the testing until later stage of the release. If an issue found out in late stages, delivery dates may be pushed back to resolve them. Time and effort waste due to such issues were high. QA team would get high workload in the final stage of the release. Not much interaction were done between BA dev and QA. So uh, as I said before, the QA developers might have completed the work and they might have moved to other projects. So we don't know who developed it. There are no relationship between these two parties. So then came across the Agile. This came as a fix for the waterfall model issues, right? So this is the Agile manifesto. You can search it, Google it, and you can identify this as well. So in Agile, it's individual and interaction over process and tools, right? Working software over comprehensive documentation. So as I mentioned earlier, documentation is little bit less in Agile. So we are trying to deliver software, working software as much as possible. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Customer has to be onboarded in this Agile. He has to be very flexible he should be listen to the development team and provide the feedback as well, right? Responding to changeover following a plan. There is a plan, but if there is changes comes into the plan, we should be flexible enough to accommodate these changes as well, right? So those are the key for things that is mentioned on the Agile Manifesto. You can Google this thing and you can find out more as well, right? So what is basically Agile? It's a project management and software development approach, right? Something similar to Waterfall. This is a different project management software development approach. It's iterative development, incremental and frequent delivery. So there will be deliveries in a very frequent manner every 2 weeks or 1 month. There will be some kind of workable software that will be developed and shared with the client. It's basic focused on the quality, right? Not only on the completion of the work. It's focused on the quality, right? Working software is the primary focus. So we are trying to give a working software at the end of each sprint. Frequent customer feedback. We will showcase our activities to the customer on every sprint, and they will provide the feedback. Cross-functional and self-organization team. There will be small teams who are developing these specific softwares, and there will be more relationship, more trust or build within the specific teams. Collaboration is also high when it comes to Agile, because there is in Agile teams, there is only around 7 to 10 team members who are working on a single piece of software, single part of software, right? So this is the high level of the Agile process. Development team implement a set of feature list. User feedback is received. Development path updated based on user feedback. Given feedback incorporated to next delivery. So this increment is something like a sprint. Sprint means uh, there are different timelines for each sprint depending on the organization. For some organization, it's 2 weeks. Some it's 1 month. I mean, most of the time it's advised to not to go above 1 month. Try to keep the sprint out into a 2 weeks time, 2 weeks or 4 weeks time, because it's easy to manage. So during these 2 weeks, we will create some kind of a workable software. It can be a part of the workable software, and it will be delivered. Customer will provide the relevant feedback with the development team, and that feedback will be incorporated to the software, and it will be released in the next completion of the next sprint. So previously in Waterfall, as I said, after a long period of time, that software might not be relevant, the developer. But here we are giving every 2 weeks something, right? So it's always relevant. If there is change in the market, we can adapt quickly and apply that change into our software, right? Because of these short timelines and our flexibility, right? So that's basically what happens in Agile. So under Agile, we have different kind of methods. One is Kanban, one is Scrum, one is SAFe. Right, Kanban is mostly used in DevOps environment, where we have Kanban dashboards, and we are having all our activities written in sticky notes or something, and then we are moving those activities based on their stages. And Scrum is another method that we are doing, and I will explain the Scrum model a little bit better on later stages. SAFe is scaled agile framework that is used for the large scale companies that is using agile method, right? So under agile, these are different methods that can be implemented. So we will discuss more about Scrum on later stages. So there's another question. I have seen that agile practice can lead to scope creep. Plans request requirement that we are not actually doing initial phase. No, scope creep. I mean, yes, this changes needs to be, if it's need to be accommodated, then we can accommodate this one. Previously, when some kind of a scope comes, we have to accommodate the whole project to this one, right? But in here, when it comes to agile, we are trying to be more flexible to changes. Even if client says, okay, there is this change to be done, we have to consult with the our development team, right? And figure out whether we can accommodate this change during the sprint or not. If we can't accommodate during this sprint, we will say no, it's not possible to do this, right? and the client has to understand it. That's why I previously mentioned the client has to be onboarded and he has to be flexible with this agile method as well. What we are saying is at the moment it's not possible for us to accommodate this one during this sprint, but we will take it in the next sprint, right? Put it into our backlog and we will take it in the next sprint and we will deliver it. So the maximum amount of time that the client will lose is one sprint, right? Or 2 weeks, 2 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on the timeline, right? So if the client agrees, fine. If it's not, then the product owners and relevant parties has to discuss and figure it out, right? I mean, anyway, client will try to put it into the try to get it developed as soon as possible. But at the end of the day, it's team's decision to take it or not, and the client has to agree, right? So that's how we can determine the scope creep in here. So the under the Scrum we have this is a high level definition of the Scrum. It's a lightweight agile process tool, split organization into small cross-functional teams. So team size is around 7 to 10 people. That is the recommended amount. In the this team is called as development team. Okay, and this development team. There can be developers who are specifically focusing on the development, but the testers might do development as well. Some cases, developers might do testing as well. So that capability has to be there for all the team members in the development team. Okay, and there are some Scrum Masters as well. That's another rules. The Scrum Master will have 50% time allocated for Scrum Master role. The rest of the 50% time will be allocated for some kind of a development or a QA or whatever the things that he is going to do within the project. So that's a normal way how the Scrum team works. Uh, Split release into fixed 2 week sprint. It can be 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but ideally, if it's 2 weeks, it's easier to manage, right? Split work into small concrete deliverable based on the priority and effort. So there is a backlog which is managed by the product owner, and the product owner has to prioritize this backlog and ask from the Scrum team whether you guys can do this during the next sprint or not. So we will go to the Scrum ceremonies and we will have an understanding on that part as well, right? And every requirement will be written in something like this as a you will specify the role as a product owner. I want to do this specific kind of thing so that I will get this benefit. So that's how the user stories will be written in a clear, easy to read English. It will be written, and this specific user story will be developed during this sprint. This user story plus it may be some other user stories as well. Multiple user stories we can develop during a sprint, right? So Kanban, I'm not going to explain here because we have the time limitations. You guys can search on it and you can have an understanding. So this is the agile team structure. Ideal team is about 7 to 10. In the Scrum team, we have Scrum Master and product owner, right? Under the Scrum Master, we have QA team, Dev team, and BA team. This whole team is considered as the development team, right? The Scrum Master will be the person who will be responsible for the Scrum team, and the product owner is the one who will be acting as the middleman between the client and the Scrum team. Okay, he is the one who is explaining the requirement to the Scrum team, who is prioritizing the backlog, who is sharing the feedback with the client and getting the relevant answers from the client. That will be done by the product owner. Scrum Master will be the one who is sharing the concern with the product owner, and product owner will go to the client and come back. Okay, the QA team, Dev and BA team will be sharing their feedback with the Scrum Master. Okay, that is the basic roles and hierarchy of agile team. So the product owner will define the vision, manage the product backlog, prioritize the need, oversee development stages, anticipate client need, act as a primary liaison, evaluating product progress, participating in daily scrums, meeting sprints. So those are the things normally done by a product owner, right? He's not considered as a part of a Scrum team, but he works collaboratively with the Scrum team. So these are the high-level responsibilities. He works with the customer, users, and organizational stakeholders to understand their needs and then translate into product backlog. He's the one who write that user requirement as user stories. So as a product owner, I want this thing to be done so that I can get this benefit at the end of the day. So that he has to write those user stories. Determining which features and functions will develop and the order. So he will determine this will be done first, this will be done second, like that he will determine the order. Ensure that the team has clear vision of sprint goal and overall objective. He will explain during the sprint, this is what we are supposed to do. This is our end goal. That's his responsibility to explain it to the whole team. Sole authority to decide what will develop in the sprint. Responsible for the overall success of the solution that Scrum team developed. Manage economics and ensure that he is getting sufficient return of investment from the work. So he has to make sure that the Scrum team works effectively and give the ROI back. So that's his responsibility to make sure that that this costing and everything is working. Then we come to the Scrum Master. So he will be fostering communication, creating channels and transferring lingo, protecting the team. So as I said, the development team will be sharing the details with Scrum Master. Scrum Master will go to the product owner, right? So act as a buffer for disruptive PMs and management. So he's the middleman. Tool maintenance, Jira administration. So he has to create the relevant Jira dashboard, burn down charts, everything he has to do. Reporting, creating burn down chart, velocity, tracking those things and reporting to the management he has to do. Meeting facilitation, there are several meetings that is there, so we will discuss this later. Agile coaching, he has to explain what is agile, what is the targets of agile, what is our primary focus, everything he has to do the agile coaching. Team support, from settling disagreement to coffee run, so he has to make sure that team is working in a collaborative manner, and if there are any issues, he has to resolve those things as well and remove blockers. So he has to make sure that team has all the relevant things to complete the sprint within the given timeline. If there are any issues, team will come and say, Scrum Master, there is issue, I can't proceed. So he has to resolve this issue. That's his responsibility. So these are the high-level responsibilities. Ensure that everyone on the Scrum team understands the sprint goal, scope, and increments. Make sure team is follow the Scrum process. Primary job is to ensure removal of any impediments or blockers that may impact the team progress. Scrum Master facilitate the Scrum events as requested or needed. He coaches the team to commit to the sprint goal and not take any requirement from anyone other than the product owner. So there can be situation where some other PM comes and asks to do something, but Scrum Master should be able to uh, uh, block those requirements and shield the team from those requirements, right? He's the person who has to do it. So this is a high-level diagram of project, I mean, activities that is happening in Agile ceremony. So there is an initiative given by the client, and this initiative will be broken down into specific areas as epics and stories and subtasks, right? Epic is a large-scale part of this initiative. Story will be a further breakdown or something small item of this specific initiative. And what we are going to do is we will try to deliver a single story or a task during our sprint. So under Epic, there can be multiple stories. Once we complete all these stories, then only we will complete this Epic. And once we complete all these epics, we will complete the whole initiative, right? Under this epic, we will have subtasks like, let's say our epic is to build a specific, like, let's say there is a website, right? That's our initiative. There under the epics, we are going to develop the main home page, develop the customer login page. Another epic can be develop the payment gateway. Like that, there can be multiple things. Under the home page, we can have story as creating the basic UI, right? And also making sure there can be another story as login functionality within the home page. Like that, there can be multiple stories. Under this each story, there can be QA subtasks, development subtasks, BA subtasks. Like that, we can have different kind of subtasks. So that's how the requirement will be defined during an Scrum process. Okay. So this is an extension of that one. This is a high level definition. So the epic will be, as a customer, I won't be able to have a wish list so that I can come and buy products later. Under the stories we have, so the requirement of the customer is to have a wish list, right? Under the stories we have, as a customer, I want to be able to save a product in my wish list so that I can view it again later. Another story is, as a customer, I want to be able to view my wish list so that I can buy items from it, right? And the task will be put add to wish list button on each product page, create a new DB to store wish list item, create page to display users wish list, add view wish list link to home page. Those are the tasks. So given within a single sprint, we can try to finish this story and the relevant connected task or subtask. Right. Under this, we can have subtasks as QA dev, BA as well, or we can try to provide these two stories within a sprint or a single story as well, depending on our capability or our velocity. Right. So these are the agile ceremonies and the processes that is included. So the sprint is around 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So first one is backlog grooming. So the week before we start the project, we will do a backlog grooming, which will be done by the product owner. So he will go to the backlog and identify which needs to be prioritized and which tasks need to be taken in the next sprint, right? And at the start of the sprint on Monday morning, we will do a sprint start. Will have a sprint planning. During the sprint planning, the the sprint team or the development team will go to the backlog and determine these are the tasks that we are going to take during the sprint. That's their responsibility. They will determine, okay, we have this much of effort that we can put during this week. These are the tasks so we are going to take, right? That is done during the sprint planning. It's around 4 hours of time. We will have a meeting and determine these are the things we are going to do during during this sprint. This is the estimate for each and every task. This much of effort is needed for this, and this person will be doing this specific task. The other person will do this specific task. Like that, we will assign each and every task and do estimations as well. Then we have the daily stand-up. During daily stand-up, what we do is we will tell on a daily basis, we will have this one. Why we doing this is as a stand-up is because when the people standing up, they tend to provide any feedback quickly and try to sit quickly as possible, right? So we are trying to keep this meeting in a very short period of time, within a 15 minutes or something like that. What each person has to tell is what he has done or he or she has done during previous day and what he is going to achieve during this day, what he is going to do today, right? And any blocks or any issues that he is facing that is hindering his process, right? That is what will be discussed during this daily stand-up meeting, right? Anything uh, methods how we can resolve these blocks should be discussed outside this daily stand-up in a separate meeting. Okay. During this meeting, we are saying, I have completed this thing yesterday. I'm going to do this today. That's the high level things that we should be focusing on during daily stand-up, right? Then at the sprint end, which means the last day of the sprint, which is a Friday normally, we will have another 4 weeks and we will have a retrospective. We will determine whether we will showcase our completed product to the client. We will get the feedback and we will determine what we have done well during the previous sprint, what went wrong during the previous sprint, and what we should be doing better in the future sprint. That discussion will happen during this retrospective. So those are the key agile ceremonies that we are doing during Scrum. Yes, we can keep minutes on these ceremonies. We can use Jira or Confluence to keep the minutes of these ceremonies. So backlog grooming, as I said previously, so the project team, product owner, and stakeholders will determine the backlog, and this feature list will be prioritized based on the requirement. That's a project backlog, and during the sprint, tasks will be taken into the sprint backlog. So this part will be done before the start of the sprint, probably previous week's Thursday or something. We will do the backlog grooming, and then during the sprint, we will take specific tasks into a sprint backlog, which we will be focusing during our sprint, during our weekly sprint, right? So this is prioritizing the backlog done by the product owner. During the sprint planning, we will determine what are the tasks that we are going to do, and we can either use sticky notes. We can draw three columns as to do, in progress, and done. Every task that we are going to do during the sprint, we can put it into to do page at the start of the sprint. Once we start working on it, we can move that sticky note into in progress one. Once we complete it, we can move it to done state, right? So this can be done either using sticky notes, or we can use Jira dashboards where it's easier. You can drag and drop, or you can change the status. You can enter time and do everything. But if you don't have any Jira or anything, you can use just a whiteboard with some sticky notes. You can do the same thing. Okay. So then we come to the story points. So now in Agile also we have to do estimations, right? How we do estimations in Agile is using story points. Normally a story points, the value of a story points determine the difficulty of each and specific task. Okay, so this is just a diagram that I shown you. So story point 0 means it's easy to ride. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to ride a scooter or something like that, or a roller skate. It's not easy, but the amount of complexity is little bit lower, right? When it comes to bicycle, it's little bit complex. So the difficulty level is little bit higher, right? When it comes to a car, it's a little bit more higher. When it comes to a plane or a rocket, it's very high. So this amount of story point shows what is the difficulty level of each and every task. So normally a story points, it depends on the time. I mean, the story point showcase is uh, governed by a time also. Normally story points mean 2 hours in some organization. In some organization, it's 4 hours, right? So that when some kind of a task is given, if we say that the difficulty levels or the story point is 3 for that specific task, that means it will take around if a single story point is equal to 4 hours, it will take around 12 hours of time to complete that task. That's the basic understanding. This is not a hard value, like the story point should be equal to 2 hours or 4 hours. It depends on the company or the organization that you work on, and based on that, this can be changed. This one I think you can go across. It's something same as I mentioned previously. So using the story points, there are different methods that we can do estimation. One is planning poker. So there are some poker cards available which you can use. I will show you guys a video where how the planning poker estimation happens. Please check whether you guys can hear the audio of this one. Can you guys hear the audio of this video?
Not yet,
Okay.
Mr. Chaudhary.
That was that audible?
Still not audible, I think.
Right. Then, okay, I will show you how it happens if the audio is not visible, but just focus on the video. I will show you guys what is happening. So there is a concept called planning poker. Okay, this is used to estimate our do the estimation during our agile ceremonies. Okay, how we do planning poker is we have a set of cards that as I showed you previously. Okay, and here, so the team come across the table. They will be on a some kind of a meeting room or somewhere, and each of the team members will have a set of cards, something that I showed you earlier. Each of these card will have different values, right? From 0 to 100 or to infinity. Each of these card will have this set of text. Okay, and once this set of cards is uh, user story comes into the discussion, each team member should show uh, what is the amount of user stories that they think will be needed for this specific story. Okay, so let's say that when some kind of a user story comes, the person shows that uh, one person show the amount as 5. Okay, another person shows as 10, another person shows as 1, another person shows as 20. Okay, so there is some different opinion for this specific task. Each and every individual thinks differently. Okay, so mostly what happens is uh, the person who has the highest number of who showed the highest number of effort and the lowest number of efforts has to justify why they are thinking this need this much of effort. The lowest person has to say why it's not taking such amount of time to complete this one. The highest one has to say why he's saying it's taking this much of time, right? Once that discussion happens, then we are going to go again, right? Similarly, we will try to go several rounds of this activity. And once everyone comes into a common agreement, like everyone thinks based on the feedback received from each and everyone, if everyone says it's a task 8 user stories will need 8 story points. If everyone shows the 8 card, then we can conclude that okay, this user story is will take 8 story points to complete, right? So there should be a discussion. It doesn't matter. Let's say there are 10 people, 8 people shows 8 and 2 people shows 20. We are not taking the majority's decision. We will consider that 2 person anyway. Okay, we will try to discuss with that 2 person and try to come into a common agreement so that everyone has a agreement that this task will take 8 user stories. So that is called planning poker. This video is already available in the YouTube. I will share the link so you guys can go through that. It's really easy to understand as well. So everyone has to show their card at once. I mean, it's hidden. It's we are not going to show to the other person what I am thinking. I will show my card. The other person will show their cards at once as well. So when the team is working together for a long period of time, they knows how this thing works, and then they come into common agreement quickly. But at the start of the projects, these values might be very differentiated, right? And it can we may have to do several rounds of planning poker for a single user stories. That can happen, but you don't have to worry. When the team is working cohesively for a long period of time, this amount will be reduced as well. Okay, so I will skip this video for the moment. So the other method is t-shirt sizing. It's something similar to the planning poker. So you know the t-shirt sizes that we use, right? Small, medium, large, extra large. Similarly, we will say for this specific user stories, it will be we will need uh, large amount of work to be done. We will need extra large. Like that, we will specify
timelines for that, each and every user story, right? So that is called t-shirt sizing. It's something similar to planning poker. Then this is an example sprint board. So once you do the sprint planning, every single task has to be put into a sprint board. So at the start, this line will be having all these other uh, nodes will be in this under this part, which is not started state. When we start it, we can drag and drop here to do stage or doing stage, right? Once we complete it, we can move it to done stage, or if we are verifying it, we can move to verifying stage. In Jira or other, sprint tracking tools, this is the must be using similar method. Else you can use, you can draw you can use a whiteboard or something. You can put the sticky notes, and you can move the sticky note depending on the status as well. Okay, so that is how we track. So at any time, a person will have, or anyone within the team or the scrum master or the project manager has a clear understanding where the specific task is, right? If it's test case writing for that specific user story, where it is it started, is it in progress, is it done? So we can clearly have an understanding. Now previously only project managers had that visibility, or that specific person who does it had the visibility. Now the whole team has the visibility of this one, right? This is a very public dashboard that we can use. So the daily scrum meeting, as I mentioned earlier, we will time box it to 15 minutes, same place, same time. So because uh, it's a very easy to handle such kind of a situation, we are not going to do it in different locations. We will just sit up at the place we are working on, and we will do the daily scrum and complete it. Facilitated by the scrum master. Focus on 3 questions: what I did yesterday, what will I do today, is there any impediment? Those are the 3 things. If there are any impediments, we are not going to discuss the resolutions for that impediment. Why? Because it's not on, if it's only affecting you yourself and it's not affecting other people, it's waste of other people's time if we discuss this impediment during the scrum meeting. So you have to discuss that with the scrum master in a separate meeting. Okay. Daily stand up. So this is again the same thing. And then we come to the burn down chart. So burn down chart depends on, so now we have a set of estimation that we did during our sprint planning, right? So let's say for this, all the user stories that we are going to do, we identify around 48 story points is required, right? So this burn down chart, the gray line will be drawn by the specific tool Jira itself, right? Every day, basically every day, person has to enter time, how much effort he has completed out of this specific user story. Okay, let's say one user story had 3 story points, right? During the first day, I have completed uh, one story point worth of work of that specific user story. Okay, so I have to enter that time in Jira, right? When we enter time in Jira, it will derive the burn down chart based on the effort that we enter, right? So at the end of the day, end of the sprint, it should ideally come into this same place as the expected level. It should be 0. That is our expectation. We have completed everything, right? That is the normal ideal method that we are expecting, but it doesn't happen at all in most of the cases. Why it happens is because we are Sri Lankan, right? At the start of the first couple of days, yes, we will enter time. After that, we will forget it completely, right? Then again, what will happen is at the end of the sprint, the scrum master asks the team members to enter time. Then they will enter time at once. So at the last day, they will enter time at once, and it might come to 0, it might not come to 0, but it will be coming down drastically like this. This is not ideal. Ideally, it should come down in very scaled manner, something similar to this gray line if we are entering time on a daily basis. But it's not in our blood. It's we always tend to forget those kind of things and try to enter time at the end, right? So that's not good. So always try to enter time on a daily basis. Why? Because anyone, if we have a graph like this with this, red line, anyone who is looking into this project can get an understanding what is the status of this one, and if there is anything to be done, anything is needed to control this project, right? Monitoring and controlling. So if something is like this at and end of the day everything is done also, I mean, no one can do anything in this kind of situation. There is no accurate picture of this project, right? So try to avoid this as much as possible. So if you are Scrum Master or someone, try to encourage people to enter time on a daily basis, which is very important. The last part is the sprint retrospective, which will be happening at the last stage or the last Friday. So we will have a DOD or definition of done checklist that needs to be associated with each story. What we do is in definition of done checklist is we check whether everything has been completed. Code completion is there, there is a environment made ready, unit test checked and green, all the things has been checked or not, we will determine, right? We will check whether DOD is completed or not. If DOD is not completed, we can't take it, the whole user story has been completed, uh, user story has been completed, okay? If anything is not checked, user story is not completed. Everything has to be checked. So this DOD will be defined at the start of the sprint when we derive the when we discuss the user stories. Okay, but one of the things is even if this DOD is not completed in Agile, it's okay to. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's okay to have a spillover, right? There can be situations where we are not able to complete this task and we will going to spill over into the next sprint. That can happen and Agile accommodates it. Okay. And in the retrospective, we will discuss what worked well, what didn't go well, what we should try doing next. Okay, example feedback. Feedback from the marketing team was helpful. So it has worked well. New smaller teams are more agile. First customers to test release loved it. So those things have been working good. That's something good things. What didn't go well? Unexpected bug after the release. Some issues took longer to complete than expected, right? What we are going to do better next time. Invite marketing to the sprint review. Test releases before launching on new domains. For each of this learning, there should be someone responsible person assigned as well. So they will take care of those things when it comes to the future sprints. Okay, that should be the that these are the things that we do in a sprint retrospective. And in retrospective, we can use a team happiness index as a matrix. So normally we will ask the product owner to move out from the meeting room, and we will ask the team to share their feedback on their team happiness index, whether you were happy during the sprint plan during this last sprint or not. And based on that, we will try to determine why anyone is not happy or anyone is in a neutral stage, and try to improve and take the learnings and try to improve on the future sprints. So that's another index that we can use in retrospective. It's not something very scientific or anything, but it's something that we have used. Okay. The other one is team velocity. Team velocity means how many users story points that team has taken during the sprint and how much we have completed, right? As you can see in the first sprint, we have taken around 16 user story points. We have committed 16 and we have completed 16 as well. But by the second one, 20 we have taken, but we have been able to complete around 12 or something like that. Third one, similar. But once we learn from these mistakes and everything, we get to understanding, okay, we can complete around, we have the capability to get the 25 story points and we can complete them as well. So this is another matrix that we can determine how well the team is working and whether the team is working properly or not. So by around these areas, team is not working properly, why they are committing more but doing very less. Okay, so we have to do some rectifying, we have to control it, and after controlling, we should be trying to achieve something like this. We are committing something, we are completing that as well. This is again a burn down chart that we can be used for analysis. So the advantages of this agile methods is early value delivery. So every 2 weeks we will be sharing something which is relevant to the market, and it's adapt with the ease. So whenever any new changes comes up, it's easy for the team to adapt to these changes, and the client will accept those things as well. Stakeholder skills, scope control, risk is lower. Why we are sending products quickly? If something is not according to customer standards, we can change it in the next sprint rather waiting for a long period of time. High quality, sustainability, collaboration, and communication. We are a small team, we communicate on a daily basis. So the communication and collaboration is higher. So this is the QA process in Agile. I mean, similarly, we have communicate with the developers. We might, in some cases, we might not trace the defects. We will be just communicating the defect directly to the developer, and then the developer will fix the defect within the QA environment itself. And then once the QA verifies it, he will put that code into the main code branch and commit it. So that's how it normally works. I mean, there is no much changes, but the communication between the developer and the QA is higher, and also time taken to raise the defects and things like that will be little bit less. So the overall advantages will be the interaction between the QA and the dev is higher. Time taken to identify and resolve the issues were reduced. Workload was spread out evenly through the release, and functional piece of software provided to the client at the end of the sprint. So these things I think we have already discussed. So there's a case study that will be that you can try out. So try to identify challenges in agile development environment and try to determine what are the things that we can do to fix those things as well. You can take any kind of user story, or else we have something example as well. Try to simulate an agile team using Scrum framework for implementing something like a PickMe application. Try, or any application that you have, try to create an agile team and try to simulate some kind of a framework for this one. So on the agile certifications, we have mainly two things. First one is certified Scrum Master. The second one is certified Scrum Product Owner. So if you are thinking of going on the Scrum Master role, you can get this certification. If you are working as a product owner, then you have to get the CSPO one. Then there are some advanced certifications as well. But as a start, you can go ahead with these two certifications. There are sessions happening online, mostly 2-day sessions happening online, and then there you should be doing a exam for the CSM certification, but for the CSPO there is no exam, as I know. You just have to attend the session which is happening on an online basis. I mean, in LinkedIn also you can find out who are the vendors providing these certifications. So if you are interested, you can go ahead and get these certifications as well. Most of the companies either request PMP or CSM certifications when it comes to project management stuff. Is there any questions regarding these areas that I have shared with you? Probably you might not have got everything because a lot of things has been crammed into a small time frame. But if there is any questions, please go ahead and ask.
So at least you can put it up in the chat box. So Chaturanga will look at it and answer.
Yeah. Okay, I think seems like we don't have anything at the moment, but if there is anything, do we need to renew Scrum certification? No, I mean, you don't need to renew the Scrum certification. If you get it once, that is sufficient. I mean, you have to pay and renew it. That is there, but at least if you get it once, I mean, you can say that you have obtained the certification. Even for PMP, I think there is a renewal process that which is there. You have to earn some PDUs and get the renewal. It's similar in Scrum, CSM, but at least if you have the certification for one time, that should be sufficient for the moment. If there is any questions, please you can contact us through Irunika as well.
We will share the contact details so that
Yes.
anytime they would be
Sure.
able to contact.
And there's a small quiz. Go and try it. We are not grading or anything, as Kapila mentioned. So if you have time, please go ahead and do this quiz as well. And that's pretty much it from my side. So thank you very much for everyone for listening. So I think it's difficult time at the moment. It's Sunday and midday, lunchtime and everything. So if there's anything, please let us know and we'll share the feedback.
Thank you very much, Chaturanga. Thank you
No
for that very comprehensive structure, very, I would say to the point presentation today. And I'm wondering whether Sarath would be starting at 2. Maybe we can give a few additional minutes for the students.
Yeah, sure. I'll check with him and 2:30 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we will start around.
Okay.
I think. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Chaturanga. So
No
thank you, everybody. I'll keep this open. So once you're done, you can come back and join the session. And the quizzes, I think, Chaturanga, is it possible for us to get the quiz links to 2 of the quiz links that you have already given so that we will put it in the chat maybe so that they can try it?
Sure, I'll put in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
See you all at